Finally. I'm so happy to have you, Megan, here. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so honored. I love speaking with creators, with tarot deck creators and oracle creators. So happy to have you here. And what an amazing work you did. I mean, the first time I saw your tarot deck, actually, it is on Kickstarter. It is on Kickstarter at the moment. The moment I saw it, I was like, there is something to that deck. So, what is about this deck? And by the way, who are you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. And basically, I got my first deck of tarot cards when I was like 14 years old. And so, I've been reading cards since I was a child, and I love the tarot. It's just been, it's like been my lifelong companion. And, I never thought when I was a child that I would grow up and become like a professional tarot card reader, which I am. I have a private practice as a clairvoyant, as an astrologer, and as a tarot card reader. And so I always say, the tarot has just always been such a big part of my life. And it's always been my dream to create my own deck, but it just never really happened. And then this process started where through collage art, using images from fashion magazines, one by one, I just started, these images came from the tarot, and the creation just started happening. And it was for me a very magical process. And I'm sure that anyone that creates a deck of cards will say it wasn't just them. You know what I mean? It wasn't just coming from them. It was coming from something a little bit higher. And it definitely felt that way. It felt like something was like moving through me.
Mm-hmm. This is really beautiful because we always, when we enter into the creation process, we enter when we are living a difficult situation, a difficult period of our life. So, this is interesting that your creation process helped you to connect with something else, feeling that presence.
Definitely, because part of the background on the deck is I started creating it when my mother was very ill. She was terminally ill, and I had a very, very close relationship with my mom, and I was just I was out of my mind with grief. I didn't know how to process it or work with it. And I'm also a writer, and normally I would have like tried writing or used writing as a way of working through my grief, but I couldn't even get there. And so I thought, I'm just going to make some art. And I am a huge fashion junkie, and I love fashion magazines, right? So I have like literally every month I go out and buy British Elle and British Vogue. And I mean, the British ones are the best. We all know that. And all the fashion magazines. And so I just thought, well, I'll do a tarot card, right? I mean, I love the tarot. I'll do a card. Mm-hmm. So I started cutting out all these images, and I felt like something just took over. And this, the first card I did was the Emperor, and it just kind of came, and I showed it to people, who are like, that's amazing. You should do another one. And then there's another one, right? And the interesting part about all that too is that, and I wasn't thinking of this consciously at the time, but my mother was very much into fashion. And when I was a kid, one of our favorite things to do was in the afternoons is I would come home from school, and we would sit down and we would go through all the fashion magazines we loved. Then it was like more like 17 magazine or, Teen Vogue or whatever. And she was also a seamstress. And so we would go through the magazines and look at the different, outfits that I loved. And then she'd recreate them for me, And so I felt like, wow, I was really kind of, unbeknownst to myself, it wasn't a conscious thing, invoking my mom, her love of fashion magazines. And so I really, it was interesting how that all worked out.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like, maybe some people who are into psychology will say, oh, you were looking for support from your mom. That's why you have created this tag.
Yeah.
But from the other side, we can say that your mom was the presence that was with you, but we don't know really what is the process. But I know that it was really healing for you. It was really very therapeutic for you.
Yeah, it was very, very profound. And, I didn't think a whole deck would come out of it. And basically, I finished the deck, right after she passed. And so, her whole, her process, and she was quite old. So, her time had come, but it was still, of course, traumatic. But it was interesting that I was in that process of creating it while she was in her process of moving on,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but I feel like, then there's, once you create the artwork for a deck, then there's all sorts of other things that happen, right? Then you've got to format them and put borders on them and create books and boxes. And so that's, when that whole other layer of work came up. But I felt like, my gosh, I feel her presence in those cards so much. And I think she would have been really, really thrilled. And there's a book that comes with the deck, which is really, I love the booklet, and it's got full color art in it. And it's really amazing. Is we dedicate it to her. Mm-hmm. And I think she'd be really happy.
Yeah, I believe so too. Hi, Evelyn. She's asking if she saw your project on Kickstarter. Yes, your project is on Kickstarter, and we have, I think, 7 days left before it is founded. I'm so impatient to have this deck. And also, one of the pictures, or one of the work I've seen from you, is the High Priestess. So and it was really profound when I saw that, and it already gave me so many things to think about when I do readings for others or for myself. How did you mix that? How was your process of creation, mixing everything and putting everything together?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have to say the High Priestess is my favorite card. My favorite card. And, because the original artwork got cropped for the deck, you can't fully see it, but on the bottom corner is actually a poem that was written for me by a street poet. And I was at a street bazaar, and you give him one word, and he's got a little typewriter there, and he makes a poem. And I said, mm-hmm. What's your word? And I wrote the word soul. I said it was soul. And he wrote this amazing poem about reflection and the, going beyond and going within in the soul. It was very High Priestess, right? So that's why it got included. But the way I come up with the images is I just go into kind of this quiet place, just really reflecting on what the different energies are, and then start picking images to me that evoke the energies of the cards, because the tarot is based on those archetypes, and, it's so powerful. And so I wanted to just like with the High Priestess, of course, there's the moon energy, and there's that reflection, and then there's that, going within. And so it's, to me, it's just like, and then there was the vessel, it was the vessel for knowledge. It's just, allowing those different images to kind of come together, I feel like each card is like a tapestry in its own way. And again, this is where, excuse me, I'm just getting over a little bit of the flu.
Probably due to all the work you are doing and the end of project, so it's like, okay, now I can let go.
Yes. And so it's kind of like, that was really kind of magical, because like I would play with different images and put them together, and then they would kind of like create themselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But to me, those images there that are on the High Priestess just speak to me. It just like, because the thing about the tarot is, because it is a visual medium, it needs to speak to you. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, this is the High Priestess because she's got 2 pillars here, which mm-hmm. is great. I really appreciate traditional tarot symbolism, but to me, this was a little bit more, I don't know what the word would be, but I feel like it stretches your imagination a little bit.
Or inviting you into a new world where you can defy, because your cards, I don't know if you can show us some cards, by the way.
Why, yes.
Good. Sometimes you defy the logic, in your cards and in your creations. This is something really specific to collage or some specific art. What inspired you in this
well, to be honest with you, I wish I had the gift of being able to paint or draw, but I don't, you know what I mean? And so collage was just the medium I used. I think it's interesting now that this has been out there and I read on the different tarot websites and I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about collage decks. You know what I mean? And I think they're kind of popular right now, but I think people either like them or they don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I like about working with collage is, again, I think it's something that really invites the reader or the viewer into the process in their own unique way. And so each of the artwork is based, let me show you.
Yes. Show us some pictures.
Okay. The deck is at the printer. So these are just like prototypes, but this is like the Ace of Cups. This is another one of my favorite cards. And you'll see on there's like that cup up above and the pearl, and there's a staircase, and then it's all kind of like starlit. And to me, the Ace of Cups is, even though it has to do with emotions and feelings, Ace of Cups to me is also soul. When I think about the Ace of Cups, I think about it's a movement of the soul. It's a soul opening. It's that, it's love. And when you think about love, universally, love is that soul spiritual energy. And so, when you see that image, there's parts of it that are traditional, right? But there's parts of it that aren't traditional. You know what I mean? But again, the idea was to kind of evoke something that people could, find their own way into. Now, here's the dreaded Tower card. And what's really interesting about that Tower card is this right here, the Tower, is actually a dress.
Oh.
So this is where, remember, all these images are from fashion magazines. So
True.
You could take a dress and make it into a tower, right? And there's the phoenix. So once again, you see kind of like that traditional imagery, but it's different. You know what I mean? It's got its own twist to it.
And the time, the clock we see behind time.
Yeah, to me, well, see, that's what you're coming up with, evokes something for you.
For me, exactly. This is why it is so rich for interpretation. And the doors behind, it's like higher consciousness. It's on the top. It gives us so much meanings to play with. And just when you say the dress, it is a dress. For me, it's speaking about the ego, because the dress is the way how we show ourselves to people. So our own image is breaking, our own identity or persona is breaking down. It's just so many things.
Right. And that, I love that. You know what I mean? And so it's like you can have so much fun with, with what you come up with. And to me, that's, the beauty of the tarot is, it is a visual medium. And I think that the power is it speaks and says something to everyone a little bit differently. Let me show you also the Empress card. And she's also one of my favorite cards.
Why? Yeah.
And we use the Queen of Cups from a traditional Queen of Hearts, from a traditional playing deck for her face. And, because she's the Queen of Hearts. And then she's showered by diamonds, and she's, she's surrounded by flowers and nature, and she's got a butterfly. And to me, the High Priestess is very Venetian. She's all about love and relationship and beauty and pleasure, and she's just luscious. You know what I mean? So and again, all these images are from those fashion magazines.
So in the process of creation, can we say that it was the basis of or the basic knowledge of tarot plus intuition, or how do you say did you create
honestly, it? I don't know how you feel, but I don't think you can read the tarot without using your intuition. I think it's an intuitive oracle, and I've written several books on the tarot, and so just writing another tarot book wasn't really of interest to me. That's why doing the deck, and there is a book that goes with it that speaks just to this deck. But I think that you can read as many books as you want on the tarot and read all the interpretations. But at the end of the day, I think it's what that card means to you in the moment.
Totally.
Don't you think? Because I think it reflects your psyche and your soul. And I think the way you do tap it is intuitively. Because you can
Mm.
look up the tower and the tower could say, your life is falling apart.
So true.
And which may be true, but if you can really give yourself permission to dig in a little bit deeper, then that's where the intuition takes over and you get those nuances. Like,
Mhm.
and what does that mean? And it brings that more to life.
This is beautiful. Um, Let me ask you about the most difficult card to make. What was your most difficult card?
What was the most difficult card? The Emperor card in hindsight, which was the first card, was one of the most difficult. I also feel like the minor arcana, you know what I mean? When you do 78 images, right? The major arcana was pretty, and because the major arcana is so, it's so represented, like it's pretty traditional throughout.
Mhm.
The minor arcana is a little bit more, is different because,
Mhm.
it's like, it doesn't have that strong archetypal language that the major
Mhm.
arcana does. So there were times when I struggled with that. The
Mhm.
wands were easy, cups were easy, swords really kind of challenged me a little bit. And then I rallied with the pentacles. I did the pentacles last, and I don't know, something came alive with. Let me show you one of the pentacles because I think the
Yes,
pentacles
yes.
are just
Pictures, pictures.
so beautiful. Here is the
Seven of Pentacles.
Seven of Pentacles.
Mm.
And there was something that just came alive for me with the Pentacles. And maybe it was the last suit and I was on a roll or something. And, it really kind of had that feeling of, body meets soul. And I don't know. So I really love the Pentacles, but I tell you, some of those swords, man, because it's so intellectual swords. It's like sometimes some of those swords were hard.
And the Three of Swords, the heart pierced by three.
Yeah,
How did you do
that's
it?
my favorite sword. That's my favorite. I wish I had a copy of that one. That's my favorite sword card.
I don't know if you have put it on the Kickstarter campaign, but I would be curious about this one.
I wonder if it's up on there. I'm not sure. But basically, instead of like, most decks, it's got that big red heart with the swords piercing
Mhm.
it. You know what I mean? I used a red stiletto
Mhm.
boot, and so it's like the idea is like, what I mean?
Mhm.
But it has this whole different take on it.
Mhm.
You still get this energy of intense, of piercing, of, something's not right. But there's also, to me, the Three of Swords is also about embracing the truth and,
Mhm.
freeing your heart through the truth. And so
Mhm.
that was an image that one was really rich to do. That was really,
Mm.
really rich to do.
What's really interesting here is that you have created a deck that speaks to you.
Mhm.
And through that, you show your own creation, your own nature, your own essence, your own experiences. And this is what I found really interesting in these times because we have that freedom of expression. We are free
Yeah.
to express ourselves through tarot, through any creation.
Right,
And
right.
people have also the choice to try it and to experience playing with it and getting through it and gaining insights. And we are so much fortunate in these times to, like 20 years ago, 40 years ago or so, maybe we couldn't have this type of decks, at this time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think the tarot is really hot right now. Everybody's saying that, and I think the tarot is in a renaissance, and I think that also that there's so many people doing their own decks, right? You look on Instagram or, there's so many Kickstarters out there. And I think that's beautiful. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think things like collage art or different forms of art, where before you couldn't have, you just being an ordinary person, you couldn't have created your own deck. Now
Mhm.
people are getting to express themselves through their love of the tarot. And I think that's why that they can do that, and it's becoming really popular right now. I think is amazing.
Mm. Evelyn she is asking you a question. Could you explain your art, or maybe also your writing? You said that you used to write. I don't know what type of writings. Is it poems? Is it just journaling for yourself? How does it work?
Well, I basically, I'm a nonfiction writer. My first book is, which is actually one of my favorite books I've written. It's called Essence of the Tarot: Modern Reflections on Ancient Wisdom. And it only does the major arcana, and it really looks at the major arcana as a spiritual foundation of the tarot and goes through the archetypes in very, very deep ways. It's actually won some awards. You can find it on my website, meganskinner.com. I also wrote The Complete Idiot's Guide to Sextrology. My latest book a year ago was Compass: Navigating Your Intuitive Gifts for Success and Well-Being. So I've done a lot of nonfiction, but what's really interesting is this deck has really changed me. And so when I start writing again, when this is all over, I'm going to actually start writing children's fantasy books.
Wonderful. How come?
Well, this opened my imagination. Creating artwork and really digging in this deeply into it took a huge imagination, right? And it made me realize how powerful the imagination is. And I'm tired of writing nonfiction. You know what I mean? I want to, like with this, I feel like will stimulate people's imagination and thought process, discovering themselves. I feel like I can now do that through writing, children's fantasy. And I've already mapped out a book. We'll see, but that's going to be the plan once this is all done.
This is wonderful. And maybe you can also show us how to write a fantasy novel or fantasy story using your tarot deck one day. It would be really interesting.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting?
Yes, that would be really interesting. We can talk about it maybe later because
we
absolutely. We try to because in my school I have a French school and started my English school also. We try to show people different ways to use tarot decks and meet them in a personal way. And I think your deck would be really interesting using that.
Absolutely. I think, because the tarot is a form of storytelling.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you could, that would be really fun to do a children's deck. You know what I mean? And use it as kind of like a storytelling vehicle, but I think that's an amazing idea. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. I'll be there.
Yes, good. Good. All right. So I will be putting this into a close for today. I don't know if you have any questions for our creator for today. Anyway, I was really delighted to have you today here. I wish really your Kickstarter campaign very, very, I wish her very, very, very big success. And really, thank you for being yourself and for creating something beautiful as your soul. And thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. So I will see you another time with another topic. Bye-bye.